I might just have to switch off my audio in the stream and just go by the echo as my primary audio.
I feel like that's gonna kill it though, right?
I'll be completely unsynced, but I don't want everyone to hear me twice. And there's nothing I can do to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because my settings right now, it's just I've only got input options of my built-in microphone and output options of my headphones.
Built-in microphone?
It's just one option for the external microphone built in and default headphones built in.
You're changing your output.
It's the same thing. One's just got default in front of it.
Alright, well, as Liz cracks open a cold one, let's just do this with super janky audio.
Alright. Well, welcome to the Pinfall podcast. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I always hear myself echoing on your headphones.
Yeah, but that doesn't show up in the stream.
I'm your host, Liz, and I'm joined as always by my double host, Mark, who's really learned how to throw his voice today.
What's that mean?
Is that not what would cause an echo? Throwing your voice?
No. Or your voice is like when you break your voice or like lose your voice.
No, throwing your voice is that's when like you make it look like somebody else is talking, but you're talking, and it doesn't look like you're talking. So I guess that's still wrong. My co-host Mark, who is broadcasting from a cavern today.
Yeah.
Mark did some spelunking before Smackdown, and we haven't gotten him back yet, so we're broadcasting from there. Brought the whole set down there too, which is nice. How are you today? Happy Smackdown.
Yeah. Very much post pay-per-view SmackDown.
How'd you feel about everything that happened? How much fun we had today. With all the fun stuff and all the family fun stuff that we got to watch today.
Lars Sullivan.
Oh, you know, I wish I was, actually. It's just, we're starting to venture down a path where anytime Murphy and Aaliyah are, like, referenced in the beginning of an episode, I'm like, I don't really want to watch any of this. Like, I don't have the option to not watch it, really, but
At least everyone acknowledges how shitty it is.
I mean, it was funny because I looked at the WWE tweet that we both retweeted. And interestingly enough, 90% of the people were like, this is repulsive. And then, like, 10% of the people who were all men who probably want to bone a 19-year-old were like, she's actually legal, so. And I was like, that doesn't make it better. And then there's a lot of people who are also like, well, my grandma and my grandpa are like 13 years apart in age. And I'm like, that's because your grandpa was a creep. The more you know.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I want to try something.
Oh, God.
One last setting changed.
Okay.
Can you go in your Discord settings and check echo cancellation?
Or thing.
Voice and video.
Voice and video. Okay. Echo cancellation's on.
All right.
I've never had to check that before, though.
I don't know, but
It's now working, and now everybody can hear my normal voice. How it's supposed to be.
And you can talk freely, because I know that
Yes.
you were holding yourself back for most of that.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want, you can just blame it on the AirPods, because they've been giving us more trouble than help.
Yeah. They're douchey for more than one reason.
They have been. They've been super helpful with my book club. Everyone's like, I read the book, and I'm like, haha, I listened to it. Into the 21st century, you bitch. Gone to the news?
Sure.
Okay. News time. Everyone loves news time. News time.
Also, I just want to point out that you made fun of Dawkins today for not caring about his audio during up down down videos. Meanwhile, you shoot this podcast with AirPods as your
I did 2 episodes with them. Eat my ass, brother.
Gotta turn Liz's volume down. News?
Yee. Alright, let's start with the annoying piece of news. AJ Styles, Paige, and Cesaro are among a few main roster folks, sort of, I guess, if you want to call Paige main roster at this point, who have had their Twitch accounts suspended by Twitch, technically, but mainly by WWE. Which, you know, not great.
Mia Yim was also among those.
Oh, Mia Yim too. Sorry, I forgot her name. It's one of those things too where it's like, not that this should be the main concern of anybody at this point, but but like technically they've accepted up down down obviously as like a thing. And Cesaro was very much a part of that. So like wouldn't this technically just be hurting them as well in a way?
Oh yeah, everybody in the community acknowledges that this is bad for them because it's removing like freedom of expression for their wrestlers, but also getting rid of free advertising. And it gives them a bad look.
Well, Andrew Yang is going to fix that if Joe Biden gets elected. He has promised. But on top of that, it is kind of interesting to me because they just had their Q3 sales meeting, and Vince was talking about how like technically we haven't actually like had a drop in viewing because like if you consider all the views from like YouTube and stuff like that, we're technically doing really well. And it's like, well, yeah, Vince, first of all, that's because I can rewatch a YouTube video as many times as I want, and it will count as independent views. Like, yeah. If you take what was it? I think it got 3.9 million views, the Hell in a Cell match with Roman and Jey. If you take that as all independent viewers, yeah, you did fucking amazing, but it's still not TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he's like, well, better put a cap on this fucking Twitch situation so I can also milk that for all it's worth, because they are struggling with ratings right now. Like, big time. It is bad news bears over in the WWE camp.
Oh, yeah.
Which is furthermore why I feel bad for NXT having to compete in the same way, especially against AEW, because if NXT was on a different time, I know, or even a different night, they would be surpassing the numbers that they currently post.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like so frustrating, and to like sit on the sidelines, you're just like, this fucking sucks. But like, what am I gonna fucking do?
Yeah.
Keep watching the WWE and talking shit about them on our podcast?
But there is something positive happening, and that's Paige is talking with lawyers about unionizing. And
which they should have done like years ago.
yeah, the fact I think the biggest evidence that they can use that they need this, if you look at Xia Li, she was just pulled out of an MMA event by NXT as if like she is an employee, like a full-time employee for them, even though they have stated many times that wrestlers are independent contractors. They can't, they have no say in what other companies that they work with.
Interesting. That's actually one of my pieces of news tonight. But that just like that further, I don't know. Because I really didn't know the specifics of that particular story. But it's one of those things where it's like, I've independently contracted for a lot of companies. You have too. If Yahoo was to ever come down on me and be like, well, you can't do this while you're independent contracting for us, I'd be like, okay, I'll just talk to a couple buddies and I'm sure they can hook me up with a job somewhere else.
I've literally worked for 2 media production companies, like alternating back and forth, that people have literally left one to go to the other one. And you know what I'm talking about.
Which companies?
And none of, like, I was open about that with like the people that I know that company, and ever a problem, it's because it's never a problem among independent contractors. Only employees.
Well, because like the thing is that there's like, I think that there's an unspoken rule in a weird way. And again, coming from 2 people that have freelanced before in different varieties of ways. I think the unspoken rule of being a freelancer is that it's like, you don't have the money to pay me for the rest of my natural life, or to provide me benefits, or to do any of that shit for me. And therefore, you have no say in how I conduct myself outside of work.
Exactly.
That's like the unspoken agreement, because if you are not sustaining my livelihood, even if not, I mean, as someone who's also worked 2 full-time jobs, yeah, you're sustaining my livelihood, but still, even like if my current job were to come around and be like, hey, you can't have that podcast anymore because we don't want you to, I'd be like, how is this? Unless I'm like showing my tits on a daily basis, which even then shouldn't be censored. But still, it's like, okay, better example. Unless I'm like spewing some horrible rhetoric, what can you do to really like step in and be like, no, we don't like that? Like,
Right.
And I know for a fucking fact that for how much money these wrestlers rake in for the companies, WWE certainly doesn't pay them proportionately, if you will. A lot of these people get their money from external brand deals and stuff like that.
Right.
It's really upsetting, and like at this point now, it's like you kind of wonder who's going to be the next one to go. Like I saw Adam Cole was streaming earlier today, and I was like, okay, well we've got him. Which also makes me wonder if it's different for NXT people versus main roster. Because Cesaro's done so much promo shit for WWE, especially with Supercard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
I think this all started from AJ Styles' son making controversial, quote-unquote, comments on his Twitch. Those comments being, why aren't you guys unionized?
his child son.
His son, I don't know if his son's a child or not.
I thought his son was really young.
I know
Like
that
10.
that question was asked of him on his Twitch, and that comment apparently was not liked by WWE.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, in this day and age, if your employer's like, hey guys, don't unionize, you're working for the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
Just fair and simple. It means that they aren't giving you everything you deserve, and they don't want you to find that out.
Okay.
So, to finish this part off, unions are much better than corporate greed. Join a union if you can afford it. The next problem, I know that those freelance editor unions are just so easy to get into.
Those what now?
One of my favorite things, by the way, was learning about unions and being like, oh, like, it costs like a lot of money and like takes a lot of effort to become a member of a union in a lot of like free film and like movie acting spheres. And then I realized, but also if you're on a film shoot that they end up flipping so that it goes union, you're immediately part of the union.
Mm-hmm.
I knew some guys who were on a film shoot in the city, and what they were shooting flipped, and immediately they were all part of the union, just like right off the bat. And I was talking to one of the guys, and he's like my life has changed. I was like, all because some dude said, "Fuck it, I don't want to keep like skirting around the rules. Let's make it union." Insanity.
We do need to keep on track here because
I'm going. So yes, Xia Li was pulled from an MMA event. She was scheduled to be part of. So okay, I pulled up an article about this because I really didn't know what the fuck happened. She was scheduled for the fight. WWE officials only learned about it days before it was set to happen. And then they ended up pulling her from the show. The decision didn't go well. Xia Li's pissed off about it. But I mean, I guess the thing is that it's like, I get it. She's pissed off that she hasn't gotten the opportunities she's wanted to have, and also probably the opportunities she deserves. She's a pretty good wrestler. We haven't seen a ton of her in our time of watching. But I kind of thought that like the MMA event was like supposed to be part of the storyline in some way or another.
I don't know if they specifically connected it, but it does seem like they're lining up that she has like big stuff outside of the WWE. I don't know. Welcome, Buns Glazing. Good evening.
I just wonder, like, I can't tell if this is kayfabe or not, I guess.
It most definitely is not, because it involves like the scheduling and booking of an outside brand. I think this is WWE dipping their fingers in something they shouldn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Shit's just gotten like weird and wild over there, like as COVID hit. Like I'm sure it was always kind of fucked up, but it's gotten just existentially worse.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of existentially worse, Matt Riddle's name is now simply Riddle.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So Matt Riddle's name was changed. Now he is just Riddle. And, WWE can say what they want about why they changed his name. It sounds better. It looks better. It's because if you look up Matt Riddle, the news about the lawsuit is the first thing you fucking find. And I guess they just don't want that.
But also, if you look up Riddle, the first thing that comes up has nothing to do with the wrestler. Like nothing will come up with Matt Riddle. But you look up Riddle WWE, the first thing that comes up is the lawsuit. Same with Riddle wrestler. But if you look up Matt Riddle, apparently you won't find the lawsuit immediately.
Well, yeah, because he's probably got a Wikipedia page, social media, and all that stuff ranks higher than news.
Yeah.
Unless he's done something heinous in like the last day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so stupid. I think it's so fucking ridiculous.
It is. And like that's his real name too, so they have like kind of no right to fuck with it.
Well, clearly the WWE is right to fuck with anything that is a part of you. If they want Becky Lynch's first child, they'll probably get it. Next fun piece of news. Oh, actually, let's get through the piece that's going to make me angry. I guess, according to Dave Meltzer, we are going to pretend that Ghostface Man from NXT Halloween Havoc, who definitely had the entire upper body of a fully grown fucking man, was Indy Hartwell. Which totally makes sense, because, Indy also is built like a man. Oh no, she's not actually. She's built like a woman. And yes, immediately, if it was a woman in that costume, I would have been like, that's Indy. But also, the moment I saw somebody sabotage a match that involved Johnny, I said, that's Indy. And then I saw the abs, and I said, that's not Indy. That's a fully grown fucking behemoth of a man. I thought it was Killian Dane for some reason. But no, I guess it makes more sense for them to make us think it's a man and then reveal it's a woman, even though I can go back and watch the rerun. And it's a man. It's fine. They definitely couldn't have just pulled a woman, because I knew it was Indy. I knew it was supposed to be Indy. Even though it was a man, my brain was like, that should have been Indy. But it's not. So really, what they've just done is exactly what I thought they were doing, but they made it weird. And don't say, oh, it makes sense, because you would have just guessed it was Indy. It's like, it's not the point.
And you're not mentioning how Dave Meltzer got to this conclusion, and that's he was given a list of everybody who was out because of the COVID outbreak, and the only name on that list that was somebody from the TV side, somebody who's on TV, was Indy.
I just don't know why they wouldn't reveal that it's I mean, maybe I'm getting mad too early on. Maybe Wednesday will come around and it will be a man.
Maybe.
The thing is that they've led us up to this point where it's clear that Indy is working with the Garganos. If someone's interfering with both of their matches to help them win, my assumption is it's her. So putting a woman under that costume would not have made me think any differently, because I already assumed it was her. It just makes it weird. Because now it's like, well, why would you throw that red herring in the fucking ring when
You seem very heated up about this.
I'm really mad about this. Like, I'm unreasonably angry about this. I probably have so many other things I could spend my time and energy being mad about. This is what I choose to do. Now for some fun news. First of all, Tony Modra, the Australian soccer player, is mad at Tony Modra, the Brendan Vink, for using his name. Mr. Brendan Vink Modra is apparently a fan of this Australian soccer team, but Tony Modra, a soccer player, said he has no clue who Tony Modra, Brendan Vink is.
Did they not, like... Did NXT not do, like, a check, like, just a simple Google check on Tony Modra before this? Because,
I like to think that... Go on.
Like they clearly did with Matt Riddle several times.
I just like to think that, like, Tony Modra, Brendan Vink, walked into the room and was like, I want to change my name to this. And, like, William Regal was just so, like, overwhelmed with everything else happening. He's like, fine, fuck it, I don't give a shit.
You're not going to be on camera anyway.
Yeah, we're never going to see you again. Go away. But, yes, Australian soccer player Tony Modra is very mad about this. He has no clue who the fuck this guy is. He wants nothing to do with this. He has no clue how he even got his name involved. And just, like, it's like, because also it'd be one thing if, like, the guy's name, because at first I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe there's a wrestler named John Smith, and, like, Australian soccer player John Smith is mad at this guy. But Tony Modra is a very specific name.
It is. They should have just named him Jack Slap. I don't know why you're laughing. That seems like a pretty good name.
Brothers in Arms. Oh. I've got 2 more things. Don't show me the time. I don't care. I'm on a roll. I'm heated. Not
We're
really.
gonna be an hour in before the news is over.
Huh?
We're gonna be an hour in before the news is over.
We'll get there. To be fair, part of this hour was spent figuring out why you were echoing. So, one thing I was thinking about though with Pat McAfee and his little British plus Oni Lorcan heel stable. We were talking earlier in the month, and maybe a couple weeks prior to that, about Adam and Kyle having a face turn. I'm wondering right now if they're going full face with Undisputed Era. Because originally they were a heel stable, and now they're fighting a much nastier heel stable. So I'm wondering if maybe instead of just turning Kyle and Adam face, they're going to do it for everybody.
Maybe.
Because in theory, Pat's just invaded NXT and is taking everything that they feel is rightfully theirs as people who are actually on NXT. So that's my suspicion. Now, for my last piece of news, what the fuck is happening with Carl Anderson and his marriage? My God.
This is very vague. But Carl Anderson's wife posted on Instagram a photo of Carl Anderson sleeping, with the words cheater written all over his face and one asshole right here. Right. And Carl Anderson then posted saying, if you liked or commented this post, without knowing the context of it, something like you're out of my life or something, or I don't know. But this is not good. I don't understand, but
Unless, like...
you cheated Monopoly?
Yeah, maybe. Or, like, unless, like, I don't watch Impact, and... Right, he's on Impact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch Impact, so I don't know if, like, there's something pertaining to that. Like a Miralana kind of deal? I'm really not sure.
It wouldn't be like the weirdest angle for them, but if it was an angle, I don't know. That's rough if it's angle by them, because like Carl Anderson having that response.
I guess, yeah. The thing for me is more so like, first, her photo just seemed kind of sus to me, I guess, because, like, first of all, Carl Anderson looks dead in that picture. So I'm glad that he responded to the picture, because now I know he's not dead. Also, like, he had to have been he's either a heavy-ass sleeper, or he was super drunk and passed out. Only because there is no way, like, if you were sleeping and I got up over you and started raining on your face in what looked like eyeliner, I think you'd wake up.
What if it was like a light paintbrush?
I feel like you'd still be like, nah, and just like wipe it off and be like, fuck, my photo up.
Or maybe he wasn't.
It's very weird.
Maybe he wasn't asleep. Maybe she was just so mad at him that she wanted to humiliate him and had him agree to this with the threat of like divorce or something. I don't know. It's inappropriate to make assumptions like this. It's their personal lives, unless it's an angle. But we shouldn't conspirize about that.
I am hoping that maybe it's just like all like a goofy little thing that we're gonna find out about later on, and everything's fine and normal. Just very weird shit when all of a sudden like that personal stuff spills over onto like Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, hi guys. It's like when you walk in like you're like a couple that's like your friends, like when they're like arguing, you're like, I'll show myself out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see you.
But moving on from that, I have one more piece of news. A piece of news I told you about that you must have forgotten. So, Walter, there's talk that he may be coming to the main roster because the NXT UK wrestler has I think it's a wrestling brand or a side project called WXW, and I think the other one's called WrestleComp or something like that. Both he said he's no longer wrestling for, and he's leaving, and apparently those two are the only things keeping him from moving out of Europe. So it's very possible that now that those are gone, he'll be moving to the States after a offer made by WWE, and maybe we'll see him either on core NXT or the main roster.
I think it'd be interesting to see him, especially because Pete Dunne's over on NXT now.
Yeah. I know Drew wanted to fight Walter.
Well, true. I don't know if Walter wants to fight you right now. Yeah, I don't know, because I saw that he just had that big match with Ilya Dragunov, but I obviously did not see how that went. So
apparently it's being touted as like one of the best wrestling matches in WWE of the last 2 years.
Really?
I think, was it Dave Meltzer gave it a like 5 stars, saying it was the most brutal match in a long time.
I guess I'm watching NXT UK later.
Yeah.
Don't like Ilya. Watched 1 episode so far. Don't like him, but I'll take it.
You said the only reason you don't like him was because you don't like his music.
His workout music's weird in the contacts. And it's also weird because the audio system that they have for NXT UK is, when we first watched on their first return show, it's really bad. So he's got like this like super intense like march kind of song coming out, and it's just like, it's so quiet, and his moves are so exaggerated that like you look at him and you're like, okay. Alrighty. We start this evening with row, row, row your boat.
Yes, we did. Roman came out with Mr. Paul Heyman, and Jey was already in the ring. And Jey is not feeling too hot. Jey's basically facing the consequences after his match with Rowe at Hell in a Cell. Rowe's feeling a little proud of himself, but Jey said he'll never acknowledge him. Never. Said, I hate you. Like he's fucking Anakin Skywalker or something. But Roman's still just like, I love you, man. I love you, but you gotta acknowledge me or you're out of the family. And Rowe gives the stipulation, or not the stipulation, but the what's it called? What am I thinking of? What is the word I'm thinking of? Why can't I think of the word? He gives ultimatum. He gives him an ultimatum.
There we go.
Jey has until the end of tonight to declare Roman as his tribal chief, or him, Jimmy, Naomi, Jay's wife, and all their kids are out of the family. And their kids. And yeah. Then we're out of that and into our first match.
Dolph versus Kevin Owens. This match is for a spot. Yeah, is for a spot on the Survivor Series 5 vs. 5 team. So Dolph comes out with little Robbie. He quickly goes for Kevin Owens' knee, but isn't able to execute the move. Gets into a headlock. Then there's a shoulder tackle from Kevin to Dolph that nearly breaks Dolph's fucking neck. Dolph kicks Kevin upside the head. There's a neck breaker. Kevin Owens then elbows Dolph in the face and starts yelling at Dolph. Which lasts only so long until Dolph kicks Kevin in the knee. There's a failed zigzag. Dolph distracts the ref, and little Robbie, punches Kevin Owens ringside. Goes to, like, I don't know, manhandle him in some way, and the ref turns around just in time and is like, hey, you can't do that, because it's the high-pitched voice ref. And he's like, you're out of here! And Robbie's like, what? And then he walks away, because he's only going to argue for so long. He's got other things to do. I hate that ref. I hate him so much. Because, like, he gets in the middle of, like, these two big-ass men sometimes. Like, it's always between, like, two big guys. And he's like, hey, stop! And they're like, what?
Thank you, Sir Kayfabe, for the follow. Welcome.
Oh, just in time for my high-pitched ref mimicry.
Yeah.
Forgot the word for it. Alright. So Dolph distracts the ref. Robbie punches Kevin. Ref throws him out. Then there's an arm sub on Kevin Owens. Kevin begins flailing like a very small cat to free himself. Dolph looks for another neck breaker, but Kevin Owens just punches him, and that takes care of the problem. Then we have the most ridiculous fucking setup in the world, which we saw twice tonight in different matches, where this happened in the Bianca match later on, but Kevin pushes Dolph towards the ropes and then immediately goes forward, waiting for the kick to the head, and just stays there. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately a really common thing in wrestling with these obvious setups. Obviously,
with that move too.
What was that?
It's especially with that move in particular too.
Right. I mean, obviously, with like the great matches, you don't see a lot of that. But it still exists among a lot of matches.
And it's also camera work.
Yeah.
And both of those matches had, like, the camera guy was just focused on the person waiting for the setup, and I'm like, why are we doing this?
Well, that wouldn't be on the camera guy. That would be on the
switcher,
the TD.
Yeah, the
technical director.
Trying to find a funny name, but like I couldn't do it. I don't think of my old boss's name. I was like, I don't want to say that.
The total dick.
There you go. I mean, I wasn't gonna say his name on air, but so then there is an inverted atomic drop to Dolph, a clothesline, and a running senton, but Kevin's little knee is looking worse for wear. Kevin catches. There we go. Kevin catches Dolph as he bounces off the ropes, and then he like does this shit that I don't really know what it was. He like had him kind of in like a cradle, like in a fireman's carry almost, and then slung him around his back like he was like a fucking basketball, and then dropped him down onto like his shoulder. I don't know what that was called, but it was something. Kevin then goes up to the top rope, cannonballs right into Dolph Ziggler's knees. Dolph is fucking hyped up. He's stomping like a little pony, ready to like rear his head. And just in time for this hype to occur, he gets super kicked in the goddamn teeth. Kevin attempts a powerbomb, but Dolph quite literally gets the leg up on him and turns it into a famouser. Then there's a failed super kick to Kevin, a failed stunner to Dolph. Dolph goes for the super kick, but Kevin Owens beats him to it and successfully pulls off his stunner in order to win and gain a spot on the 5 versus 5 SmackDown Survivor Series team. Oh, God. Love breathing.
And then after that, a decent match. Pretty good match. We had a promo with Natalya all mad at Adam Pearce, and then Billie Kay walks in, and then Bianca enters. It's all just like, they're all wanting to be on the Survivor Series team. And then Adam Pearce throws out the crazy idea, what if we have a triple threat match to decide which one of those three joins the Survivor Series team? Now, I'm sitting there wondering, alright, so besides these three, what other wrestlers are there to join the SmackDown Women's Survivor Series team? You've got Zelina Vega, Bailey, can't have Sasha because she's the champ. She's gonna be facing Asuka. Another champ. That's why I got confused. Who else is there on SmackDown? You know, I want to Google this right now. I'm really interested. SmackDown roster. All right.
Riot Squad. One of them could go out for it.
What was that?
Riot Squad.
Oh, true. So we've got Bailey, Bianca, Billie, who's now out. Carmella, who she said something about like next month or something. It'll be her time.
Next Friday. It's next Friday.
Next Friday. Okay. So there's Carmella, Liv, Natalya, Ruby, not Sasha, Tamina, or Zelina. Natalya won't be in it. So the choices are Bailey,
and Zelina.
Bailey, Carmella, Liv, Ruby, Tamina, and Zelina. That's 6. So they've got the numbers, but they're just gonna have to announce names rather than have an eliminator like they had today.
You know what that just kind of tells me at the end of the day? When you have a group match like this, which at the very least we got more respect in the sense that like we got this group match, but Adam Pearce and Pat Buck didn't just announce the names like they were reading off like the parts for like a high school play. But it just kind of tells me that like Billie and Natty were like the least likely for them to choose, because if they're automatically eliminated now, it's like Jesus.
Which sucks for Natty, because like she's one of the highest tenured women's wrestlers on SmackDown right now.
Also, why wouldn't you choose Natty if Lana's in the team, in the Raw team?
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
Unless they have Sonya come back to put her against Mandy. That'd be cool.
Unfortunately, that's one of those things that's like not in their hands.
Yeah, I know. But they could have swapped out Natty with someone else. Like they could have swapped her with Tamina. They could have swapped her with Zelina, because they're using Zelina as enhancement talent right now, apparently. But moving on from that, we had a weird interview.
Lars is a child killer.
Yeah, a weird interview with Mr. Lars Sullivan by Corey Graves. And it's Lars telling us a very interesting story about how when he was, in elementary school?
I guess.
He was bullied and picked on a lot. Well, first, Corey Graves said he was sitting with Mr. Lars Sullivan, or Mr. Lars. And then Lars was like, what, you don't want to call me a freak? And then Corey's like, no, that's that's literally not your name. And yeah, so Laura starts telling the story about how kids school would call him a freak and bully him and shit like that. And it was like they would all laugh at him, but soon, like, all the laughing would happen from from the kids, the teachers, everyone. And then he said, but soon all that laughing went silent. And the screaming lasted for a while.
Hours, actually.
Lasted for hours.
Hours.
And so he kind of implied that he, like, beat the shit out of kids and teachers.
Yeah, it sounds like he murdered somebody. Many somebodies.
Obviously, it's all for kayfabe and shit.
Sure.
But that's more insane somehow than Karrion Kross being a hitman for the mob.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of child Lars murdering a bunch of other children and teachers, much scarier.
Yeah.
That's fun.
But after that we had a little promo with Murphy and Aaliyah, where Murphy says, I know why Dominic and Ray despise me. That's fine. I get it. But I'm going to apologize to them later on in the ring. And, yeah, so, that happens.
Oh, do you not want to talk about the most important part where Aaliyah says, well, I've been talking to my mom, and she's been really supportive of it.
No, she said open-minded. She's been open-minded.
Yeah. And I said, open-minded to you making a new friend? Friend. Platonic friend that you like to play chess with. A friend who is, let's think. Let's think here for 1 second. Let's think here for a second. Okay. The age difference between Buddy and Ray is the same as the age difference between Buddy and Aaliyah.
So, the worst happens today, and we'll get to it, but I just want to prep you all for the worst happening. Alright, so moving on. After that we have the women's fatal three-way that we already mentioned.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't take great notes on this. It wasn't a match that was really worth taking good notes on, though. So, Billie makes first contact with both women. Natty goes to slap Billie, but Billie ducks out, and Natty ends up slapping Bianca. Bianca then elbows her and shoulder tackles her. There's a kick to Bianca's face. This was another one of those ridiculous fucking setups. Natty goes looking for an atomic drop on Billie. Billie is then handed off instead to Bianca, whose powerbomb turns into a head scissors from Billie. There's a drop kick to Natty from Bianca. Natty suplexes Bianca. Natty drop kicks Bianca. Natty has the sharpshooter locked in on Bianca. Billie comes in with a crossface and attacks her. It just like goes to show how stupid the crossface looks. Because Natty's got like the sharpshooter locked in, and Billie just comes in and she goes, I'm like, no, Billie. There's then a boot to Bianca's face from Billie, another sharpshooter on Billie Kay, but Billie won't like let her back down, basically. Thus making it harder for Natty to get any real traction with the move. Bianca breaks up the sharpshooter, throws Natty into the turnbuckles, and then a very, very, very incredibly botched KOD gets Bianca the win. Bianca, like, dropped Billie halfway through.
Maybe that was intentional.
Jesus Christ. Well, if every single botch move she's had of lately is intentional, she's the EST of botched MOVEs.
She's the botchist.
She's the botchist.
Um,
She's had really bad luck with that shit.
But after that, we had a whole series of promos. One of which is Carmella. And I still don't get her stupid shtick. Like, what's different? I guess she's all fancy now. She's not the queen from Staten Island. She's just saying that, like, next Friday you'll see me. Be cool. And that means she's probably gonna go to Survivor Series. She might have a match against Enhancement Talent or something.
This fucking promo was, like, it was so bad. It made Dominic's promos look heartfelt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have rather watched Dominic talk blankly into a camera than this very sad attempt at being, like, boss bitch. Or, like, the other thing, too, is that, like, her whole new thing is, like, she's, like, untouchable. It's a very similar vibe to Sasha's.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see Sasha's promos versus whatever the fuck that was,
You know what they could do to make me like her a little more? Besides give her better promos and a better shtick and a better character.
and a better everything.
Book her in a match against Bailey. Or Sasha. One of those two, like right off the bat. Because that's what her past would lead her to, is because she has the tenure to have like a big match right off the bat.
Yeah, that's true. Not done that at all.
But after that, we had Murphy and Aaliyah come out, and Murphy does the thing he unfortunately promised, and that was apologize to Ray and Dominic in the ring. But as Murphy and Aaliyah are getting settled in the ring, Mr. Seth Rollins comes out, always wanting to show his face everywhere.
Well, yeah, because his boyfriend's taken now, dude.
Yeah.
Shit sucks.
He said, it's cool if you guys want to have an open relationship. I'll be involved.
He's like, look, my wife is pregnant. She will not know.
And yeah, he comes in and he's like, guys, I still love you, Murphy. He's like the Roman to Murphy's Jey. Seth said that Dom and Ray hate Murphy, but Seth loves him, and he loves this relationship despite Ray and Dominic not approving of it.
Which was when I said, Seth, no, you're supposed to be on our side.
Seth definitely doesn't mean that. I can almost guarantee that. But yeah, it's short-lived what happens in the ring between these two. But then Dominic and Ray come out, and they start beating the shit out of Seth. And then Murphy's next to take the beating. Oh no, Murphy starts beating on Seth, and then Dominic starts beating on Murphy. And from that moment, we're like, yes, hell yes, we love you now, Dominic and Ray. Who Ray came out in a new Versace sweater.
I made fun of their clothes a lot. That was a nice fucking sweater. That was very pretty.
Yeah, it was. But then Dominic gets Murphy set up, ready to take a 619 from Ray. But as Ray is lining up for it, Aaliyah steps in and says, no, stop it, no.
Dead.
Not Uncle Murphy. And then Ray's like, Aaliyah, just stop this. Come back with us. I am your father. Like, this is creepy. It's weird. Stop it. And Dominic, reasonably, is mad too. So they both start leaving. And Ray says, Aaliyah, come with us. And Aaliyah says, no, I love him. I love him. And then, oh God, I don't know if I'll be able to like say it. Aaliyah walks over to Murphy and kisses him, and they almost make out right there. It was, I literally, before this thing happened, I was like, they better not fucking make a kiss the climax of this whole storyline.
You literally said that 5 seconds earlier, and I was like, that'll at least be a couple weeks before we have to deal with that.
It was today.
Perfectly time correct, Cam, by the way.
Yeah, so we're here in this soap opera because for some reason WWE feels like giving us a telenovela right now. And so Ray and Dom leaving Aaliyah and Murphy in the ring. I hope Angie doesn't really approve of this relationship. I hope Angie is still sane. I know she's trying to be like the supportive mother, but this is bad. This is such a bad storyline. They need to stop this. It's like, it's so creepy. I would much prefer, like, as awful as he is, Austin Theory as in the Murphy role, because he was a Seth disciple, but he's closer to Aaliyah's age. Like, and
he'd be less weirded out by
it. But talking strictly of age, he's what, like 23, 24?
Austin.
I know I think he's like 24.
He's 23.
23.
He's your youngest.
Yeah, he's 23. That's a better age to have this whole relationship storyline with. I don't know of any 23-year-olds or around that age that are on SmackDown currently, but could just not do the storyline.
Like 23, I would have excused. 23, I 100% would have been like, that's a weird age gap. Still, like, a 19-year-old's in a very different point in their life than a 23-year-old is. Like, last year, there was no chance of me ever seeing a 19-year-old and being like, but at least then it's like, that's 4 years. Okay. It's still like a little weird, but like, it's not creepy.
You're both still kids at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's, for example, like my sister, this is not a good example for the context, but like my sister and I are 4 years apart, but we have very similar life experiences because we experience the same pop culture stuff and all that. And I think that's what matters a lot in a relationship, is the stuff you're brought up on influences who you are as you grow up. And like a 23-year-old, for example, is just getting out of college usually, or like just getting past that point in their life where all of their friends are in college. It's not that different. A 32-year-old and a girl who just graduated high school, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
Like Murphy, in terms of kayfabe, because I'm assuming it's in terms of kayfabe, missed like the cutoff of picking Aaliyah up from like her, student government after school activities by 9 months, I think. Maybe. If we're lucky.
Oh boy. But moving away from that train wreck of a storyline, we have
the 3 notes, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The 3 notes that I have for this are LMAO Seth, in all caps. Nope, in all caps. And then Dom attacks Murphy.
Yeah, that's
That was like my only mental state.
that's how you can sum it up. But after that, we had Daniel Bryan, a little interview with him. And he's being asked about his match coming up, and he says, "You know what? This is a new Jey." Like he compliments Jey basically and says that he gave the Universal Champion a run for his money. And I really enjoyed that Daniel Bryan is kind of bringing like a really positive spin on matchups. He always has been, but since he's back, I think that's an integral piece that's been missing, because we kind of lost that mutual respect for other wrestlers that we had with him. It's always been like mad at each other, feuds. You hate the other. You think the other's a piece of shit. But with Daniel Bryan, it's very much, this guy's a good wrestler. Like with him and Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak ended up being a mentor for Daniel Bryan. And you never really see wrestlers now complimenting their opponents.
Yeah.
And I think having that today was very fresh. It was a nice breath of fresh air. And after that, we had Street Profits come out right before their match against Cesaro and Shinsuke. And they just talk in the ring, talking about the New Day and how they impersonated them. And said that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. And I love this friendship between the Street Profits and the New Day. I hope we get a little Big E interaction with the Street Profits. Or the best way that this could go with Big E being separated from the New Day is Big E kind of joins the Street Profits. And then there's this kind of ridiculous feud between the New Day and the Street Profits over Big E. I think that would be hilarious. But after that, we had the match between Street Profits and Cesaro and Shinsuke.
It is interesting because that's like something that people are talking about though. Is that Big E kind of has to choose who he's going to like be behind for Survivor Series, is whether he's going to be behind the Smackdown Street Profits or if he's going to be behind the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just don't want my feelings to be hurt again. That's all I'm asking for. It's not much. All right, so Street Profits versus Cesaro and Shinsuke. There's a shoulder tackle to Cesaro. There's a shoulder tackle to Cesaro from Dawkins, and Tez is tagged in. There's a drop kick to Cesaro. Shinsuke just kind of like lets himself into the ring. Shinsuke then kicks Dawkins in the head. There's another drop kick to Shinsuke from Tez. Then a neckbreaker to Cesaro. Tez flies out to Cesaro and Shinsuke ringside. He takes Shinsuke out before very nearly shoving his whole ass fucking head into the barricade. He very nearly misses Shinsuke. Then Cesaro decides to grab Montez and just loft him over the barricade. There was also very clearly a cushy pad there because they made a very specific point to not show anything over that barricade.
Mm-hmm.
And you would hope that there was a very cushy pad because Tez was thrown.
Oh yeah.
My dude was in the air for a whole fucking minute. Cesaro drapes Montez on the ropes, and Shinsuke comes in, kicks him in the midsection for a little bit. Then there's an enziguri to Shin. Dawkins gets in, Cesaro gets in, there's clotheslines to Cesaro, and then a flying elbow. Then there's a drop kick to Shinsuke, a facebuster to Cesaro, a bulldog to Cesaro, and then an uppercut to Dawkins sort of slows things down. He gets Shinsuke in. Cesaro's still around at this point. There's a suplex to Cesaro and a kick to the back of Dawkins' head. Shinsuke gets Dawkins strung up on the ropes. Then there is a gut-wrench powerbomb to Dawkins from Cesaro. Montez breaks it up. Shinsuke launches Montez from the ring, then throws Montez headfirst into the boot of Cesaro. It was a very different move, and a very weird one at that. And then there's a clothesline to Dawkins. Shinsuke gets up to the top rope, kicks Montez away, but cannot help when Dawkins comes through to wiggle the ropes, causing Shinsuke to lose his footing. Then there is a huge powerbomb to Cesaro, a superplex to Shinsuke from Dawkins, and a frog splash from Montez for the Street Profits to finish it off and get their win.
This is a fun match.
It was. I enjoyed this match a lot. And I think it's because I enjoy the Street Profits a lot, and I enjoy Cesaro and Shinsuke a lot, so like putting them together, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the perfect people to have replaced the New Day on SmackDown were the Street Profits.
Yeah.
But after that, we move on to a promo with Sami, little Sami Zayn, talking about his match at Survivor Series against Bobby Lashley. Talking shit. That's basically it. He's excited and he's confident. And I'm honestly really excited for that match because I have no idea what to expect. I'm expecting Sami Zayn to be the only one to break out of the Lashley full Nelson. The full Lashley. Which is what they should be calling it. Why don't they call it the full Lashley?
They do. I only call it the full Nelson.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot now.
You just had a good idea twice.
True. But then after that, we get Sasha Banks coming out into the ring with her new SmackDown Women's title. She's brought the chair with her too, the same chair that Bayley had been carrying around this whole time. And she did the same thing Bayley had been doing prior to Hell in a Cell, where she just gets in the ring by herself and starts monologuing to Bayley as if she's in the room, but she's not. She says that one thing she mentions is that, what was it? The thought was just in my head and was gone of what happened with Sasha in the ring. Do you remember what Sasha said while she was in the ring by herself?
No, actually, I just know that Sasha kind of made the point that she was the winner. I did not pay attention to this because I've heard the Sasha promo a million times now.
It was more of a victorious version of her promos.
Right.
It was nice, but then Bayley came out and had a great interaction with Sasha, where she said, she brought up the point that Sasha cannot hold on to titles. Like that's her thing. Like she cannot hold on to a title, especially at pay-per-views. So next week, Bayley is challenging Sasha to a title match for the SmackDown Women's title. I can almost guarantee Sasha will win. Kind of prove Bayley wrong, and hopefully move away from the storyline. But honestly, I really like this promo. Just the way that each of them were performing and selling. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that kind of annoys me is that, like, Bayley making the point that, yes, Sasha can't hold on to her title at pay-per-views makes sense. But it's just, I know for a fact, I know what the outcome is at Survivor Series now. She's not going to lose it. I know that for a fact.
Well, they could always change the card to Bailey. That's something they can change because it's always it's not part of a storyline. It's just default Raw versus SmackDown champs.
Well, no, what I mean more so is I know how Survivor Series is going to end. I don't think that Sasha's giving up the title next Friday. I don't see that happening.
I don't either. But it wouldn't be unlike WWE to throw us a wild card.
True.
But then after that, we had our main event, which was Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso.
Oh, this was a shorter match than I would like it to have been. And also, later on, includes a very nasty fucking bump from Jey. Which isn't even technically part of the fucking match. But there's a clothesline to Daniel Bryan, and then a knee to the midsection of Jey sends him spinning. Jey manages a Samoan drop onto Daniel, and Daniel flips over Jey and dodges him a few times before a running elbow catches Jey in the mouth. Daniel does his little yes kicks. Mr. Row, row, row your boat comes down the ramp with Paul Heyman in tow, just to observe. Jey then gets up onto the top rope. Daniel frees himself from where he's being held by Jey's legs. And slams Jey crotch first into the top buckle. Then he does some more yes kicks to Jey's midsection while he hangs upside down on the ropes. And there's a sliding drop kick to Jey's head. He's going for something on the top rope. Daniel climbs up there and starts doing whatever he wants to do. But Jey turns it around so that Daniel ends up taking most of the blow on their way down. Then there's an enziguri to Daniel, and Jey is sent over the top rope. Ringside super kick through the ropes to Daniel Bryan's head, and then an Uso splash, but Daniel Bryan gets his knees up. However, Jey lands on his feet about 4 inches in front of Daniel before he even comes near the knees. And then just kind of like falls on them like, oh shit, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it's like, I watched that and I was like, that just doesn't, it was just so discordant. It just kind of like looked like Jey confused himself when he landed. I don't think he was expecting to land the way he did. But Jey ends up falling on them. That's what we call it. Then there's a label lock on Jey. But Jey reaches the ropes. There's some more yes kicks. Daniel then breaks his back on the buckles in order to just kind of kick Jey around for a little while. Then there's a drop kick to Jey. And a super kick to Daniel Bryan. A second Uso splash that actually connects. Jey wins. But yeah, for real. Daniel Bryan, like, was running from corner to corner, like, to attack Jey, basically, or kick him or whatever. And the first time he does it, he just, like, runs so hard back first in the buckles, like, you could hear it. I was like, Daniel, stop! Why are you doing that?
But after that match, Jey approaches Roman and says, I'm with you. I love you. I'm joining you. I'm part of. Oh, you're the head of the table, my tribal chief, etc., etc. Verbatim. He said, "I understand," and then Roman looks at Daniel Bryan and says, "Show him you understand." And then
No, he said, make him understand.
Oh, well, make him understand, and then Jey starts beating the shit out of Daniel Bryan as if he's some jobber. Yeah, the whole thing is just Jey beating the shit out of Daniel Bryan until we're done with the show. He throws him onto the table, and then Uso splashes onto him, where he lands really poorly. He lands on, like, with his stomach onto one of the sides of the table, and it stays there as he lands on it for like a couple seconds before it falls over. I just imagine that being very painful.
He is okay, apparently.
Yeah, he seemed to get up and be just fine. And then that's basically where we end. Daniel Bryan's brutalized. Jey Uso made a heel turn. And Roman is satisfied. So who knows where they're gonna go next? Probably Jimmy kind of being disapproving.
Yeah. We also ended 2 minutes early, which was very weird.
So yeah. Would you like to move on to promo of the night? Or best
Talk about
of
some
the night?
promos. Yeah.
But first we do that, we have our biggest rise and biggest drop, biggest fall, biggest fall into a pit, whatever you want to call it, of the week. And based on Mark Cameron's power rankings. And so we'll start with, and this is a very interesting week for the biggest rise and fall. So the biggest rise goes to Mr. Johnny Gargano, moving up 112 spots in the power rankings after his
Holy shit.
after his win of the North American Championship on NXT at Halloween Havoc, and falling 104 spots is Mrs. Candice LeRae after losing her title match against Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship. It's very interesting having the husband have the biggest rise and the wife have the biggest fall.
That was very interesting.
All right, so
Very peculiar.
best of the night. We started off with Roman has a face-off with Jey, which, again, was just very emotional from the two of them. I don't think this is anything special compared to what we've been getting normally from them. Jey just more sad. Roman was just a little more cocky. And the real action didn't really happen until later on in the show. Then we had the promo with Natty, Billie, and Bianca. Which was Then we had the interview with Lars, the very strange, very weird, very sociopathic interview. And then we had the disgusting promo with Murphy and Aaliyah, which I don't want to acknowledge at all. We had the terrible promo with Carmella. We had Murphy and Aaliyah talking in the ring. Murphy's apologizing and then getting approached by Seth and then attacked by Dom and Ray. And then we get the kiss at the end. Awful, awful, awful. The only good thing about this is Dominic and Ray. Just trying to be a good father and a good brother. It's a shame that their daughter too goddamn horny. But after
I'm
that,
blaming Murphy on this one.
what was that?
Blaming Murphy.
I don't know. Up until today, he refused to like hug her back or like interact with her in any way besides just talk.
Fair.
But after that, we had an interview with Daniel Bryan, which was nice, but nothing substantial. We had Street Profits talking in the ring. We had a promo with Sammy, which wasn't substantial in any way. And we had Sasha talking in the ring, which takes us a new step in the storyline. It gives us kind of a new angle and a 180 on the whole situation where Sasha is the one on top and Bayley's the one trying to climb her way back up, but also trying to make it seem like she's not, like she hadn't just lost the title. Like she's still acting just as cocky as normal, but it's kind of pathetic like that. So without further ado, my promo of the night is Sasha gloats in the ring and is approached by Bayley.
Hmm. The problem is I don't agree with you, but I've also got a really bad headache, so I don't know if I want to argue.
Well, what's your pick? Is it Roman and Jey?
Yeah.
The only reason I don't want to go with Roman and Jey is just because it doesn't, besides that ultimatum at the end, it doesn't add much.
It does, though. Jey accepted. Jey went full heel. I feel like we've gotten the same promos from Bayley and Sasha for a long time now.
Well,
and
no.
I feel like this is new Jey.
That moment wasn't until the end. That wasn't until the match with Daniel Bryan.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
So you're not considering that part of the match, you're considering that its own promo?
Right.
Oh.
That's why I had you talk about it.
Alright, I'll go with you on that one, despite me not really considering it a promo, because it's kind of the aftermath of a match. Alright.
My brain is riddled with headache worms. I cannot
I'm taking pity on
confirm
you.
nor deny. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Alright, so Wrestler of the Night. We start off with Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler. Honestly, my pick here is Dolph. I think Kevin Owens had a couple little botches, and I think Dolph always does an amazing job at making his opponent look fantastic. But I think Dolph today looked much better than Kevin Owens. I always forget how athletic Dolph Ziggler is and how impressive his moves like the zigzag and the famouser are. He's always also got so much emotion in the ring, and he's just an incredible wrestler. And then we had Bianca versus Natalya versus Billie. I guess I'll go with Bianca. I guess. Then we had Street Profits versus Cesaro and Shinsuke. My pick for this match is Angelo Dawkins, 100%. Dox was just going wild in the ring. Because Tez was out for most of it. And Dox, he basically just one-upped how he normally is. You know, pulling more impressive moves, just going much crazier in the ring. I enjoyed him fully. He was just so much fun to watch today. And it also helps that Cesaro wasn't as impressive as he normally was. So Dox really, really shined today. And then we had Daniel Bryan versus Jey, and I guess I'll pick Jey. But there wasn't a whole lot impressive in this match to really consider it. Jay's not a really impressive wrestler to watch. He's mostly known for the Uso splash, which is just a frog splash at the end of the day. What he really carries is like storylines and emotion and character. But I think the pick for the best wrestler of the night is Angelo Dawkins.
Sure. Yeah. You know, I'll go with it. I'll vibe on that. I'll vibe on that right now.
You're not just saying that?
No, I'm not actually. I mean, I always like watching Angelo Dawkins fight. And I think it says a lot that like he stood out from like people like Cesaro and Montez because their way of fighting is pretty in your face. So I'll have to go with that.
All right. So after that, we had Kevin Owens versus Dolph match of the night. Introduce that first. We had Kevin
Very
Owens versus Dolph Ziggler starting out the night, which this was a good match. I do think it could have done a little better for Kevin Owens on his side of things. He just didn't look like he was on top of his game today. But not to say he looked bad. I just think he could have done a little better. Dolph, though, looked fantastic, and the match overall was just really fun. And I think the fact that we didn't see Alistair at all today kind of makes me think that he's not going to be involved in Kevin Owens' story anymore, which is good.
Yeah.
But after that, we had Bianca versus Natty versus Billie. And this match was it was lame. I didn't like it. Billie is only really fun to watch when she's with Peyton, which sucks now because they're broken up. Billie really has nobody to bounce off of, and such a shame. And Natty was lame too. Bianca was the only one who was full of life, but also had that botched move at the end, and everything kind of just went south, I think.
Yeah. And it sucks because, like, Bianca's a good wrestler, and again, we're seeing her in these matches where it's like, I can't quite speak to Billie, but I know Natty's a good fucking wrestler. And everyone looked like poopy. Everyone looked poopy today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After that, we had Street Profits versus Cesaro and Shinsuke. This match was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this match because it had a lot of good spots. And everyone was just, they were full of life, I guess. I don't want to just repeat what I just said. But they were full of life and so exciting. Anything involving Street Profits and Cesaro and Shinsuke by themselves, like you said, is a lot of fun. And the both of them together, even when they're not at their best, is still a lot of fun. And this match just proved it. And then we had Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso, which was not Daniel Bryan at his best. It was not Jey Uso at his best. The only thing good about this match was what came out of it at the end, and Roman showing up and Jay's reaction to that. I don't think the match itself was anything exciting, anything good in any way. It wasn't bad. It was just all right. So with that said, my pick for match of the night is Street Profits versus Cesaro and Shinsuke.
Good. Because that was my pick. It took two of my favorite tag teams and it put them together. And I mean, although we did choose Dawkins from this match, I really don't think there was anyone in this match that like didn't shine in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
And honestly, it's nice to, at the very least, start seeing a little bit of variation in the tag teams on Smackdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not sick and tired of this match? Question mark?
All right, you want to close this out? Oh, to run it back, we've got our promo of the night. Jay joins Roman. Wrestler of the night, Angelo Dawkins. And match of the night, Street Profits versus Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yes. Very good, very good, very good, very good. I am back on my headache flow, which means I'm just going to have a headache for the rest of my fucking life. Which is awesome. Can't wait for Monday. Please join us on Monday. We will be back. Maybe I won't have a headache. Maybe I'll just take a migraine pill. What's to say? But join us on Monday. We will be back. We will be talking about Raw. We will be tired probably. And we might, question mark, might do a little fun, limited time stream on election night. We're still figuring out the logistics of that. Nothing too intense, just us having some fun in what hopefully will be a good night. And maybe it'll just be like the highlight of your night. I don't know, man. We'll see. It'll be fun. Maybe. There'll be beer. We'll drink beer. Okay. I will be buying a case of PBR for this. But join us Monday. We will be talking about Raw. We will be having fun. Thank you so much for tuning in if you tuned in tonight. Thank you to Buns Glazin for tuning in. Great name still. Still good. And thank you to, who was that subscribed?
Sir,
Sorry, my headache's
no,
giving me 5 minutes
followed.
of memory.
Sir Kayfabe.
Sir Kayfabe. Oh, what a good name. And thank you for following us, yes. Sorry, my migraine's really just taking me over here. But thank you to everyone that tuned in, new or not so new or old. And if you're watching in the future, thank you for watching. As we draw closer and closer to next Tuesday, please fucking vote. I will leave you on that note.
And if you enjoyed, please hit that follow button and hit the little bell so you're notified whenever we go live. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And if you're not watching on YouTube, go check us out on YouTube. You can check out the rest of this podcast and all of our previous podcasts. Our YouTube is the Pinfall Podcast. Our picture is still different from this one, but we'll be changing it very soon. I know I promise that every time, but this time I mean it. And follow us on Twitter at Pinfall Podcast. Remove the, and that's the Twitter. And there we post all of our picks for wrestler and match of the night in case you missed an episode but still want to know who did the best. And we also comment on a lot of stuff that happens in wrestling, which includes live tweeting some episodes and pay-per-views. And follow our individual Twitters as well. I'm at the Mark Cameron. Liz is at Eliza Elaine23. And follow my personal Twitch, twitch.tv/Mark Cameron. Alright. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Monday for Monday Night Raw.
Dread Podcast.
Red Podcast.
Dread.